Welcome to the Wolverine Digest podcast, the best spot for objective and authentic coverage of Michigan athletics. If you want open dialogue, honest opinions, and in-depth coverage of the maize and blue, this is the podcast for you. And now, here's your host, Brandon Brown, joined as always by Chris Bradley.
I just want to start by saying go blue.
Friday.
Yes, sir. It's here.
Friday, and it is freaking Game Eve, man.
Yeah.
Michigan season opener, Game Eve. I'm excited, dude. We got a plan laid out for the morning. We know where we're going to park. We're going to walk to the Levine Tower. We're going up. We're going to be in the press box. We do have to wear a mask. Kind of blows. Food situation is not as good as it normally is. Kind of blows. But, dude, I could not be more excited to have people back in the stands and the buzz around Ann Arbor, the tailgating, and then, of course, the football. I'm just super excited for tomorrow, man. I know you are. This is like, is it Christmas as a kid type of vibe for you right now or what?
Yeah, it's been that way, honestly, man. Like, I haven't slept all week. I feel like the wheels in my mind are just turning, and I think it's the intrigue and the curiosity is just killing me. Like, I just want to see it. And I feel like once I can see the product on the field, I'll be able to sort of, step back and relax a little bit. But the anticipation is high for sure.
That's part of it for me too. It's like just the curiosity. Yeah. The unknown.
Yep.
There's so many things we just want to see some answers to. And we will tomorrow. I don't know how well. We've talked about that a little bit. I mean, how much do you think we're going to glean tomorrow, against Western? 3-score favorite, 17-point favorite. Michigan should cruise. I mean, that's what people are expecting, but it's still going to be live, real starters out there on the field playing football. So we'll see something.
Yeah, I mean, it'll answer a lot of questions in terms of, who are going to be the starters at certain position groups. And I've seen some reports that, there might be some injuries floating around and we might be missing a couple guys tomorrow. But I think overall, you're not going to get to see the full bag of tricks, but I think you're going to get a general sense of what Mike McDonald is trying to do on the defensive side of the ball, which a lot of people are really curious to see. And then, you're going to get to see Cade McNamara at the quarterback position. And regardless of whether or not they open up the playbook, you're going to see how he makes his reads. You're going to see his comfort in the pocket, how he rolls out of the pocket, how he makes things happen. I know Matt Weiss said they're not expecting him to be a playmaker, but I'm hoping you see a little bit of that from him on Saturday and that you have some confidence going into week 2 in that big matchup against Washington. Yeah. I mean, it could be a little vanilla. Maybe we don't see quite everything, all the wrinkles on offense, really exotic stuff on defense. I don't know, but we'll see something, and it's going to be real football and it's going to be starters. We're going to see who's out there. And yeah, a lot of the questions are going to be answered, maybe not to the fullest degree, but we are going to get a lot of hints and a lot of answers about what we've been, talking about all offseason, and I'm excited about that. So looking really forward to getting into the big house tomorrow, watching Michigan take on Western. We'll talk about that game specifically, obviously, throughout a couple different segments that we've got lined up. And for those who are in here right now, we will have Jalen Mayfield in a little bit. Super excited about that. He's going to be kind of our guest picker, talking about some of the games in the Big Ten, and of course, just kind of shooting the breeze with him a little bit about life as an NFL player, man. How about that? Pretty cool. Yeah.
Kid I've known since, I think he was in 11th grade at Grand Rapids Catholic Central and or Grand Rapids Catholic. And he, man, I just remember watching him and seeing him and thinking, like, kid kind of looks like a big tight end. Like, he was super athletic. And I remember, I'm going to talk to him about this when we get him on, but his coach who had been around several like NFL players before they got to the NFL. I can't remember exactly where he coached, but other high schools and maybe even a small college job that he had before. He said that Jalen was better than all of them. And I was thinking like, wow, okay, this guy knows his stuff, pretty ringing endorsement. And lo and behold, 3rd round draft pick after barely playing last year and, coming out early. So pretty cool story for him.
It sounds like he's going to be pushing
for
he's going to play. Spot. I know that there's been some injury along the offensive line down there in Atlanta. And so he's certainly going to have an opportunity to play early. And excited to talk to him about it. Pretty
cool stuff. So we'll get into that here in a little bit. Obviously, we will talk about Michigan throughout, but Michigan's biggest rival, Ohio State, was on the field last night in Minnesota. And man, dude, the boat rowers were rowing in the first half. They took a
Yeah.
14-10 lead into halftime, but then Ohio State, too much talent, too many big plays. CJ Stroud kind of settled in a little bit, and they ended up winning by 14. Not like a blowout. The line was 13.5 going into that game, and I thought that was like free money. I was like, dude,
Yeah.
Ohio State's going to roll them. And they didn't at all. They did cover barely by half a point, but I don't know. Thoughts on what you saw really from both teams, I guess, but obviously Ohio State specifically because that's got to be the focus. That's who everybody's looking at.
Well, I think like a lot of other people in the first half, I thought they looked pretty pedestrian. They were certainly on upset alert. And then in the second half, you kind of saw the big chunk plays really take over. And if not for that, I think I don't know if it's a different outcome, but I think it's probably a different game. CJ Stroud in the second half had 4 straight completions for touchdowns. So if you think about Minnesota and how close that game was, and then you think about that statistic, I mean, a little bit of defense would have probably made this quite a bit of a different game. But man, Travion Henderson looks fast, great pad level. He's a true freshman. He already looks like a future NFL running back. CJ Stroud kind of settled in there in the second half, and he looks solid. And look, Ohio State is going to be a good team, but I stand by what I said last night. I know it's week 1, but I still view them as very beatable.
More beatable and maybe in years past. I mean, Stroud's a redshirt freshman. He's not Justin Fields. I mean, he looked pretty good in the second half last night, but like you said, man, the defense, I'm like, Chris Olave's running free on a drag, and then they single cover Garrett Wilson with that lump safety that couldn't guard him. I tweeted about this. I'm like, I will never understand why football coaches ask guys to do stuff they couldn't do 100 times out of 100. Like that safety couldn't cover Garrett Wilson. This is what I tweeted. He couldn't cover Garrett Wilson if he knew the route and Garrett Wilson was wearing stilettos. Like, he's not going to cover him ever. And you ask him to do it, and it's a 60-yard touchdown. So, yeah, a little bit of defense, a little bit of resistance, some better game planning, I think, from Minnesota, and who knows what could have happened. Obviously, Muhammad Ibrahim got hurt as well, looked like a popped Achilles. That sucks because he's a really good back, and he had a great night last night. But, 14-point win.
There was an interesting tidbit from that game, and I was curious what your thoughts are. So during the broadcast, Klatt had said that, at least for this season, that Indiana was the primary, I guess, threat to Ohio State in the East Division. Do you agree with that? Do you think it's Indiana this year?
I think I do. I do. I'm pretty high on Indiana. I'm pretty high on Michael Penix. I like what Tom Allen's doing with them. They play good defense. I mean, who else would it be in the East? I just, Penn State, what are they? Michigan, what are they?
Right.
We'll figure it out here in a couple weeks. Maybe we'll see a lot more, tomorrow out of Penn State, who's traveling to Madison. We'll get into that a little bit too. But yeah, I mean, probably before we've seen any of those other teams play, I can agree with that statement. I think you have more known commodities with Indiana than you do the others. They haven't recruited like Penn State or Michigan, but they play a brand of football. They play to their strengths, and they're well coached. They don't make a lot of mistakes. I can get on board with that. It's crazy to think about, but Michigan hadn't lost to Indiana in like 40 years than they did last year. So, different Indiana team than most years. So we'll see. Yeah, I don't hate that. I don't hate that idea, but yeah, Ohio State, everybody's still looking up at them, but they didn't look like a juggernaut. There's no doubt about it. They had some deficiencies. Their corners are going to struggle. They're playing some young guys out there. I think a redshirt freshman and a true freshman. They got called for a couple PIs. Should have got called for a couple more. Not invincible by any stretch of the imagination, but a 14-point win on the road to start it out with quite a few new guys playing. So still, a good win for them. And I guess one of the other topics, we'll touch on it a little bit. Mr. Joe Milton got himself a win down in Tennessee, but man, it ended up being kind of a blowout. It was like 38-6 against Bowling Green, but Milton was pedestrian at best. Less than 50% completions, only one touchdown, a couple rushing touchdowns, but they were real short. He wasn't super explosive or, just killing it or making big plays. It was pretty lackluster for, like a Bowling Green. I don't know, man. I've always been probably higher on Milton than most because I I'm just enamored by the physical traits and the potential that seems like it should be there. But those same problems were still, kind of popping up that popped up for him at Michigan. He throws the ball a mile. Even on his long touchdown pass, it wasn't the greatest decision or the best throw.
Right.
His receiver kind of bailed him out.
That was a 50-50 ball, yeah.
Yeah. Receiver kind of bailed him out. That's a big, tall SEC guy against a kid from Bowling Green. I mean, that you expect that guy to make that play. And in some respects, I like when quarterbacks do that. Give your guy a chance and let your guy win the matchup. But that, that wasn't like a beautiful timing pass, or he made a great read, or he checked into something else. He just threw it up, and his guy made a play for him. So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, you were watching it. I was actually kind of picking up snippets here and there. You, big baller over there with the SEC network. I think you saw most of what he did. I mean,
I did. Yeah,
I know they were slurping him up on the broadcast.
They were slurping him, and I think even Fox did like some sort of. They called him a dark horse Heisman. In the first, they were big. They were big on Joe Milton in the first half, and yeah, you're right. I think he, he looked pretty much like what we saw last year. And you're right. I think you look at him from a physical standpoint and you expect him to be just this like dominant force.
He looks like a creative player, man.
Right. Like if you were going to create the perfect quarterback in like, college football 2021 or whatever it's going to be, you would build it probably like Joe Milton. Now, the attributes you might change a little bit, but physically speaking, that's who you want. And so it's really hard to kind of separate the two, but he got off to a hot start. He looked good, but when he settled in, you just saw a lot of the same things that you saw at Michigan. And I hate to say it, but I think that's just who he's going to be in his college career. If he is the starting quarterback the final week of the year, I will be surprised, because I just think based on what I saw against Bowling Green, that's not going to be enough to cut it in the SEC.
Yeah, the angle that's always weird there is, you saw a lot of Michigan fans kind of, taking shots at him on Twitter and like, oh, he's the same guy he's always been. He doesn't belong on the field. He's not a college quarterback. Like, kind of taking a dump on the guy because he's not at Michigan anymore. But like, you do realize that Josh Gaddis and Jim Harbaugh picked him as the starter, right? Yeah. I mean, they don't do that just because. And I know everyone's like, well, he looks amazing in practice, but not in the games. I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know if I buy that. I don't know if I buy that. I really don't. I don't know what it is. If that's really the case, then that's just bizarre.
How different can it look in practice? Like
exactly.
It's not a style. Like it's fundamentals. Like you watch what he's doing out there, and it's not like, I'm sure it looks good in practice when he rolls out to the right and throws a 50-yard bomb and a receiver goes up and snags it out of the air. But you're not going to win a lot of football games, especially in the SEC, playing football like that. And I'll admit, it was disappointing to see, because I expected him to really burst on the scene in Tennessee. But it kind of is what it is, and he is who he is.
Yeah, it looks like that. I mean, it looks like that. It's just, everybody, I don't know. Like I said, Josh Gaddis like literally hitched his play calling wagon to Joe Milton last year. It didn't work out. Jim Harbaugh, he's the head coach. He obviously signed off on it, and it didn't work out. And so people are like, well, Cade's going to be amazing. He just beat Cade out for the job last year. I know against Rutgers, they pulled Milton. They put Cade back in there. Everybody, wants to remember that Rutgers performance like it was something amazing. I mean, it was good, but it's Rutgers, for God's sakes.
Okay,
and
but here's what I don't get. We wanna give Cade McNamara all the credit in the world for Rutgers, but we want to like shit on Zach Charbonnet for running wild against Hawaii. You know what I mean?
It is what it is, man.
You got to be consistent, And so Cade McNamara had a hell of a game last year. I get that it was against Rutgers, but it was on the road. It was difficult circumstances, a 17-point deficit, and he pulled them out of it. And so, I get that it was against Rutgers, but I don't know, man. The sample size is just so small, and the fact that Milton beat out this guy last year, you can't help but find yourself a little bit concerned.
Throw a comment up real quick here. Crapping on Milton because he steered players away and talked trash about the Michigan. I don't know that for sure. I know that's been floated. I know he said this, reportedly said this, reportedly said that. If he did, that's shitty. Like, you shouldn't do that. You're still there. You suck it up. You do what you can do. You help your team. You do this, you do that. But at the same time, it's very clear that the culture was broken last year. I don't know how much you can put blame on Joe Milton for feeling that way or voicing his opinion or having these different outlooks. In fact, there were players that came to his defense when he was saying these things. Like, none of us here, or none of us that are watching, or none of the people in the Michigan media market heard those things come out of Joe Milton's mouth. But it was reported that they did, and I don't know. That's not good. That's not cool. You don't want guys like that on your team. I understand that, but I didn't really see anybody bringing that up. Honestly, it was just about like performance and what he did and the type of player he is and the athlete and the accuracy and stuff. So two different things. Regardless, he's at Tennessee. Best of luck to him. Cade's at Michigan. Best of luck to him. We'll see what Cade looks like tomorrow. All right, let's get into some of these Michigan specific things. Didn't mean to hit that button. We're gonna do our over unders. Chris and I have 5 over under that we will ask one another. It's going to be a quick little back and forth where we talk about what we think we're going to see tomorrow. Chris, are you ready?
I am ready.
I will go first. We just talked about Cade McNamara. I'm going to throw you Cade McNamara over under 2.5 touchdowns.
I'm going to go under.
Ooh.
Under 2.5. I think they're going to air it out early, but I do think they're going to settle in, and I really think they're going to try to get that running game humming along. And so, a couple touchdowns maybe through the air, a few on the ground, and then you'll call it a day. So I'll go with the under.
I thought about that too. We know they want to run. We had multiple people, throughout the media availabilities, players and coaches alike, talk about being physical and wanting to run the ball, and the running back room is really good. So you want to get those guys going. However, there's not a lot of tune-up before Washington comes to town, and I think if you want to make sure that you can throw the ball and score points and get those versatile, speedy receivers involved too, this might be a good time to try that out. So I'm going to go over. I'm going to go over 2.5. I think it might be about 3. I mean, I don't think he's going to go off for 5 or 6 because they are going to run the ball, and they do want to do that and establish the ground game. But I think they're going to chuck it up a little bit, and Western's corners are not good. They are not good at coverage, and they're young, and I think there's a guy playing the position for the first time, moved over from wide receiver. So I think the Michigan receivers and Cade McNamara will have a little success. So I'll say over 2.5.
All righty, we'll stick with Cade McNamara. Covered the touchdowns there. Let's go with passing yards. I've got the over-under set at 200 yards through the air for Cade McNamara. What are you taking?
I say over. Over on that. I mean, like, we just talked to Joe Milton how much of a pedestrian night he had, and he finished with I think 140 or 150. And I mean, if you look back and watch it, it's like where did they even come from? He barely was completing passes downfield. He did have the one long one that we talked about, but no, I mean, like, dude, 200 yards passing in today's world of college football is like peanuts. You got to be able to do that, and I do think that Western is going to, they're going to chuck it around, and I think they're going to score a little bit. If Michigan comes out there and just sits on it in time of possession and grinds it out, I just don't know what that's going to look like perception-wise, and I don't know how well that prepares you for that game against Washington. So I'll say over 200 yards.
Yeah, I agree with you, and for the same reason you gave, is that I think, all eyes need to be on that week 2 game, and you got to find out what you have immediately. You don't have time to wait. It's not like, you've got a handful of cupcakes, and so I do expect him, even though I got him under on the 2.5 for the touchdowns through the air, I do expect him to sling it around a little bit. I've got him going over on the 200.
Next one up, we know he's going to play. We heard it multiple times. Donovan Edwards, over under 8.5 touches.
I'll go under.
Okay.
I'll go under because I think I had him at 6 or 7 when we talked about this last.
We have touched on this, yes.
Yeah, I think that's what it's going to be. It's going to be a mixed bag of maybe a little special teams, maybe some jet sweeps or some wildcat, when you get in the red zone. I think that, they're clearly going to try to get the ball in his hands, but I'll give him 7 touches, so I'll go under. I'm
going to be just under, I think, too. Just a shade. I mean, it might be, like you said, 7 or 8, like right there on that line. Yeah, because of the other 2 backs, Hassan Haskins and Blake Corum, and what they want to do, hopefully, what they want to do in the passing game. Yeah, there's just not going to be enough touches for him, I don't think. And, maybe that'll change. Maybe if Michigan gets up and they put some of the young guys in there and he handles the whole fourth quarter or something. I don't know. But I think you're right. I think it's, you'll sprinkle him in. Let's see what he's got. But there's so many other guys on the team, and specifically at his position, that I think are going to carry the load. I'll go under a little bit too. Do you by chance know how many times Travion Henderson touched it? I don't think it was very many. I mean, he did a lot with what he had.
Yeah,
but
I think it was less than 10, but every time he touched it, it was electric, and you could tell that he's going to be that guy. And so you hope to see a lot of that from Donovan Edwards too.
That's
right?
kind of what I was thinking while I was watching Henderson last night. The two were recruited pretty heavily, both by Michigan and Ohio State. For a while, it looked like maybe Ohio State was going to get Edwards, and then maybe Henderson would have looked a little harder at Michigan. But obviously, they ended up where they ended up. And yeah, when you watch, when you watch another freshman back do something like that, makes you wonder. Hey, let's give Donovan a shot back there and see how he looks doing some of those same things.
Yeah, and once again, we're on the Brandon. You and I, we are always on the same wavelength. I feel we'll stick with Donovan Edwards. We
didn't discuss these ahead of time, by the way.
We did not discuss these.
Yeah.
So we've got him under 8 touches tomorrow, right?
8.5. Yeah. So I said 8.5. Yeah.
All right. So let's stick with Donovan Edwards, but I'm going all-purpose yards. I've got him at 50 all-purpose yards.
See, I'm gonna say under because right when you said the words all-purpose yards, I thought like 45, 48.
Yep.
And then you said 50, so I'll go slightly under. But man, if he pops one, just like we saw with Travion Henderson, he'll fly past that number because if he gets out in the open, no one's catching him. So I'm going to say under, but it wouldn't surprise me one bit if he popped off a 50 or 60-yard run or a little screen pass or something like that. So you're talking just rushing, receiving too, right?
Well,
not like if he's in there on a kick return or a punt return.
I'm talking special teams too. If he gets his hands on the ball, so however he touches the ball, does he account for at least 40 yards?
50, I thought you said.
Or 50.
Said
I'm 50, sorry, 50. Yeah.
I don't think we're going to see him in the return game. I don't, putting a freshman back there when you've got guys who can do it and who have been around a little longer. I think that's where you go. So anyway, I'll stick with the under. I'll stick with under 50, but it won't be. I would like to see it be close to that, at least that, kind of in that 40 to 50 yard range so we can see what he's got.
Yeah, I was in the same mindset when I thought about this question because I could see him getting around 45 yards, maybe breaking a big one, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm going to go over. I think you're going to see some of that athleticism. I think he breaks off one against that Western Michigan defense. People get excited about it. I'll take the over on the 50.
Easily could see that happening. Could see that happening. All right, I have a team wide. Does Michigan, as a defense, we've heard about it, freer, flying around, making plays on the ball, the secondary playing some zone, doing some different things. Over under Michigan's defense, 2.5 takeaways. 2.5 takeaways.
Ooh. I'm going to go over.
Ooh.
I'm going to go over because I feel like Western is going to be taking some chances. They're going to be trying to move the ball, and that's the only way they're going to win the game. And when you take chances against Michigan and you're at the big house and, you're overmatched, usually that's going to mean bad things for you. So I'll go over on 2.5.
I think it's over too. I do. I think I can see a strip sack. I can see a pick or two. I think you could get to 3 pretty easily and not have it be like an anomaly or a falling apart. I think just exactly what you said, the trends of the game, and Western's going to have to air, and they do that anyways. They want to throw the ball with Caleb Ellaby down the field. They've got some speedy receivers. I think Michigan's safeties and corners, could grab a couple, and like I said, maybe the quarterback gets roughed up a little bit, drops one in the backfield. I'm with you. I'm going to say over on 2.5 takeaways.
All right, let's shift back to the Michigan offense now. We've heard good things about Cade McNamara. We know they've got, a ton of weapons out there in the wide receiver room, and then obviously what they've got in the backfield. There's some questions with the offensive line, but these guys should be able to move the ball against Western and put up some points. I've got Michigan, the over-under at 34.5 points. Where are you at?
I'm over that by a lot. I think they're going to go north of 40. We'll talk about our specific predictions towards the end of the pod, but yeah, I'm over that. I think Michigan, they need to be over that. I think, with Western being pretty poor on defense, if Michigan's not putting up 35, 40 plus, that's a disappointment in my book. So yeah, I'll say over that. We'll talk about our final score predictions here in a little bit, but yeah, I'm pretty far beyond 35 actually. So yeah, that's what I'll stick with. That's what I will stick with.
I'm going to go under, man. I'm going to go under the 34.5, and it's only because it's week 1 And I don't know that I trust the Michigan football offense yet. We've seen it throughout the Harbaugh tenure. You know, we know that they're tremendously talented, but we talked about the offensive numbers. What was it? I don't know if we were live but it was you and I talking, and the Michigan offense hasn't finished in the top half of college football during the Harbaugh tenure in yards per game. So
it was live because I had someone reach out to me and say I about threw up when you were going through those numbers. So yeah,
exactly.
It was
poor.
This
This offense has been not all that great for a long time now, and until they can show that they can go up against an opponent like Western and they can put points on the board, I'm going to take the under.
Yeah, golly, I just need to see it. I need to see some freaking points going up on the board tomorrow, man. We'll see how that looks, but I'm going to go over though. I'm going to go over. We'll talk about those finals here in a little bit. All right, this is kind of a big one, but it comes with the excitement of what this new defense is going to look like and these new hybrid position guys. And I saw a clip the other day of Aiden Hutchinson dipping and ducking under a dummy where I'm just like, bro, 6'7", 260s shouldn't move like that. And I think he could be unleashed in his stand-up role, coming from different angles, coming from different depths, delayed blitzes, little stunts and twists with the D-line. I mean, you could just do so much with him because he's so big, but he moves so well. Aiden Hutchinson, over under 1.5 sacks.
Over. That's
more
easy.
So 2 or more tomorrow for him.
That's easy money for me.
Wow.
I think you look at the way last year went and how hungry he is and just the focus he's had during the offseason. I think he's going to be probably the most motivated player on the field on Saturday to really go out and wreak havoc and make some things happen on the defensive side of the ball. I think he gets over 2 sacks. I'll give him 2.5.
I've been burned on every sack prediction I've ever made dating back to the start of my career covering Michigan. So I'm going to say over just by default. I'm sorry, I'm going to say under just by default, but I hear what you're saying, and I'm buying. I think Aiden Hutchinson is ready for a big year. The idea of him playing that role, full head of steam, sprinting downhill, like I said, delayed blitzes where he might have an absolute free run to the quarterback. I think we're going to see some wild plays out of him this year. But I'm still going to say the under because, like I said, every time I've picked a damn over/under for a sack number, it never hits. It's a hard stat to figure out and to predict. But I'm with you. I love what he's been about. I think he is going to be super motivated, and I think he's going to do really well in that role. But I will say under for the sack number.
Well, let's stick with the defense then. We know that they've got some solid players up front, but I think there's a lot of question marks in the Michigan secondary. And we know that Western Michigan likes to toss the ball around. And so, Brandon, I've got Western Michigan at 16.5 points on Saturday. You taking the over or under?
I'm trying to think of what our prediction was. I'm going to take I'm an idiot. I'm taking the under. They're going to score more than that. God damn. They're going to score more than that. I'm going to take the under just so I can stay consistent with my article I put up today in my final score prediction, which, as I'm speaking about it out loud, just makes me sound like a moron. But I'll say under. But you're right, though. I mean, they're going to throw it around all game long, and if Michigan gets up, you could see a garbage score at the end, or something when the backups are in. Those are the bet killers. Those garbage touchdowns at the end, but. I'll say under, but like I said, as I'm talking about it, I'm talking myself right out of it. What about? I'm guessing you're going to go over then.
I'm going to go over, because I think they're probably going to have 10 points for a good portion of the game, and then fourth quarter late, probably punch one in. So I'll take the over. I'm pretty confident on the 17.
Yeah, what am I thinking? They're going to score. They're going to score some points, right?
Yeah, they're going to move.
I'm pulling that article up now because we are going to reference that here in a little bit anyway.
You got a new defense. You got guys doing new stuff live for the first time.
Incorrect. I would like to change my answer.
It's too late. You can't.
It's over. I got to duck. It's over.
Segment rules.
It's over. I thought I said 10, but I just looked at my article that I put up this morning and it was 17 actually. So.
Oh, great. Okay.
But
so we're both on the over.
Yeah, we're on the over by a little bit. You say 16.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's It's right where I'm about at. I got them at 17, but yeah, that's. I mean, Michigan needs to hold them down. You know, they've got a couple.
How do you feel about that? I mean, if Western Michigan puts up 17 points against Michigan week 1 against Mike McDonald's defense, how do you walk away from the weekend? You're fine with it. Okay.
Really good offense in the MAC, really good quarterback. You know, Michigan's going to have some bumps in the road. I think if they can hold them to 17 and Michigan's up in the 30s or 40s, I'd be great with that. Yeah.
I think for me, it's really going to depend on how those 17 points come. And if Michigan's secondary is getting torched and they're giving up big plays, you know, throughout the afternoon, then I'm going to walk away a little bit more concerned about week 2. But if it goes the way I think it's going to go, where Michigan holds them down for a majority of the game and they get some garbage points at the end, I'll be fine with 17 points because it'll be a little bit deceptive at that point.
Yeah, we'll have to see. We'll have to see what that looks like and what that Western offense is capable of, because when we had Patrick Nothaft on earlier this week, I mean, he said some pretty good things about him. And that quarterback, man, I watched a couple clips of him. He's got a hose, man. He can throw it. He runs around a little bit. So we'll see. All right, last one for me. We know the running back room is deep. We know the receivers have some speed and some talent, little unproven, but we know kind of what we're getting with a couple of them at least. Tight ends, we haven't heard a lot from or about. We did get Eric All during availability the other day. Jim Harbaugh once upon a time said he could be the best tight end to ever play at Michigan. Pretty strong sentiment there. Tight end receptions, over under 4.5. Tight end receptions. So that could be Eric All, that could be Luke Schoonmaker, that could be, we've heard Carter Selzer's name a few times, Matthew Hibner, even Louis Hansen, the true freshman. Maybe, you know, I don't know if we'll see all 5 of those guys, but 4.5 catches.
I'll take the under. I mean, probably right at 4. I'll take the under. I think 5 is maybe pushing it for the tight end group, and you know, given what they've got with the running backs and how they're going to try to spread it around to some of those receivers. So I'll take the under.
You know, it's funny. I wrote down tight end receptions 5.5, and then etched it out, and I was like, 4.5. 5.5 is too many. That's the easy under. I'm with you. I think it's going to be. I think it's going to be right about there. 4 or 5 catches. I think I got a future in this, handicapping business. No,
you might be there.
You know, like. They're going to get some looks, I think. You know, Eric Hall is going to be on the field. He's going to play quite a bit. Schoonmaker's a bit of a matchup problem because he can run and he's about 6'6", but it's a pretty unproven group too, really. I mean, Eric Hall has played, but he hasn't made a lot of catches, hasn't had like a big breakout performance or a big game yet. Yeah. So I'm going to go under as well, but I'm with you. I think it could be pretty close.
Yeah, and had a case of the drops last year.
Yes, he did.
I know that he came on, but that's another one of those position groups where you don't really know what you have, and will they be targeted? Probably. Will they catch the ball? We'll see. So
yeah, I'm with you. All right, last one from you, man. Let's hear it.
All right, Brandon. I just mentioned about how stacked the running back room is, but I believe that Hassan Haskins is still considered the top running back in the room, at least from a seniority standpoint. So Saturday afternoon, Hassan Haskins, 65.5 yards, over under. Over. Okay.
I think he's going to be utilized.
Even with the split and reps, you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's going to be utilized. I think we've already established and talked about that they're going to want to run the ball. I think he is the number one guy. I think we'll see plenty of Blake Corum, and I think we'll see a sprinkle of Donovan Edwards. I think Haskins is on the field. He's good in pass pro, which I think is going to be key as this offensive line gels. And Western, actually, they bring some blitzes. They get after the quarterback a little bit. Some moving parts on the O-line, like I said, I think you're going to need some help from the backs, and I think he's probably the most capable there. Bigger, most knowledgeable, has played the most football. So I think he's going to be on the field quite a bit. I'll go over. I think maybe by a decent bit, actually. Okay. I think I would mash that pretty good, 65.5. I think Hassan Haskins has a pretty good day.
See, I'm going slightly under.
Okay.
I for some odd reason, I feel like he's going to be somewhere in the 50s. And then I imagine pretty much most of the same for Blake Corum as well. And then you'll throw in a handful of yards for Donovan Edwards. And so I'll go slightly under, but only because I think they're going to be splitting out the reps. And I think you're going to see, some of the other guys being pretty productive there in the backyard.
Have it.
Backfield. I said backyard.
Backyard works. I knew what you meant.
Backyard works.
There you have it. That's our over-under segment. I loved it. Thought it went well.
It was great.
And I'm excited to see how they come to fruition tomorrow. We'll kind of keep track of these a little bit. This will be something. All right, that's enough. This will be something that we revisit on Mondays when we come back to the pod and, talk about, how bad we sucked, or maybe we'll be all over it. We'll see.
Yeah.
But these over-unders are fun, man. It's fun. It's even fun just like coming up with them. Then you get to talk about them too, like kind of what you think's going to happen, what you see for the game. We'll check on that on Monday when we come back to the pod, but I'm looking forward to that. So we got a few minutes here before we're going to try to get Jalen Mayfield on. Looking forward to speaking to him and getting his take on some of these games. A little segment we've got coming up here called Big Ten Big Game, and then Big Ten Big Lame, because there are a few lame ducks in the Big Ten. But I think the big game this week is kind of a no-brainer. There's a couple. Actually, there's two. I think you could make an argument for the other one, but I think it's Penn State at Wisconsin. I think that's the most intriguing matchup because Michigan plays both teams. The other matchup with Indiana and Iowa, Michigan doesn't see Iowa this year. So I guess right there first is, are you on board with that being a slightly bigger matchup? And then, kind of how do you see that one going in Madison?
I feel like it's pretty equal.
They're close, man. Both of them are small spreads.
It's very close. It's really tough to win in Camp Randall, especially week one. You're going into a hostile environment. The crowd's going to be back. It's going to be raucous.
Tough to win at Kinnick too.
And it is. And that is a 3:30 game. And I think I mentioned this. Did I do a little write-up about it? I don't remember where it was, but it's going to be 3:30 when Indiana meets Iowa at Kinnick. So I think it's going to get dark towards the end of that game. And we know what happens at night in Kinnick. And so, I think it's 1A and 1B because, like Klatt said, he views Indiana as the primary threat to Ohio State. Michigan has Indiana. So, I want to see, is Indiana for real? Can they go into Iowa, knock off Iowa at Kinnick? If they do in week one, then maybe I'm buying a little bit more into what Indiana is. But right now, I just think they've had one good year and I'm not ready to put my foot in there yet.
Yeah, I hear you. Did
that answer the question? I still go Wisconsin Penn State as the bigger game.
I think it's got a slight edge. So Wisconsin is favored by 5.5.
Two top 20 teams
over Penn State, and Iowa is actually favored by 3.5 against Indiana. So tighter spread there.
Okay.
But because Michigan plays both Penn State and Wisconsin this year, that's the bigger game for me, the one I'll be watching more closely. But two pretty good ones there. And on the flip side, man, there are some lame-ass games this weekend for the Big Ten. Temple at Rutgers.
Woo.
Fordham at Nebraska. We'll get back to that one in a little bit.
That one might actually be better than most people think.
Oregon State at Purdue, not horrible. And then University of Texas San Antonio at Illinois. So there's a couple sandbaggers in there. I mean, football's football, but those are some weird matchups too, even.
Yeah.
Oregon State coming to Purdue, Fordham at Nebraska. We're going to talk about that a little bit here when we get Jalen on. And then, obviously Michigan State Northwestern tonight. Like I'm intrigued by that. But Michigan State's not figuring to be that good. Northwestern lost almost their entire team. So, neither one of those teams are expected to make a ton of noise in the Big Ten. But I'm intrigued. I'm going to watch it, and I'm going to be, pretty plugged into what's going on with those two teams that Michigan will also face. Thoughts on those crappy games real quick while I get Jalen invited to this bad boy.
Let's see. Not really. I mean, I'm more intrigued about the top games. I'm excited that college football is back. I'm excited that we get to see Penn State go to Madison, take on Wisconsin. There's so much good football on this weekend that I'm not even really focused on the bad games because there's so much good stuff out there.
Yeah,
but I do think Scott Frost is that Fordham game. That better look pretty damn convincing. I think they were a 42 point favorite.
43.5, dude.
Yeah. That ain't happening. I know we're going to talk about it, but that's not happening.
I don't know if I want to bet on that game because, good God, I don't want to watch it. But if I was, dude, I think I'm mashing Fordham. 43.5. That is many points, dude. That's so many points for a Nebraska offense that we watched, poop all over the field last week, or however you want to say that. That's a lot of points, dude. 43.5 points. Actually saw Boston College is favored by 44.5 over Colgate. Just those, I can't even believe you can bet on those. Those numbers are so big. But
it's crazy.
There you go. All right, we got Jalen invited. As soon as he jumps in, we will get him on and start talking about some of these picks a little bit before we finish out and focus a little bit more on the Michigan specific stuff, just to kind of set the table for tomorrow. I know we already talked about just the excitement level, all the questions that we're looking to have answers to, and I don't know, man. Is there any one thing that you think? I don't want to ask it the same way I've asked it before. Is there anything that you think? Well, okay, let me ask you this: what would surprise you the most about tomorrow? What would be the biggest surprise if you saw it happen, or if you didn't see something happen? What would be the biggest surprise? Like, what do you think? Okay, definitely going to see this, but then maybe you don't, and you're just like, whoa, I didn't really see that coming. Anything jump to mind there? Because we've talked about the bigger storylines before.
Yeah. For me, it's the running backs, because I view that as the most sure thing on Saturday. They have a ton of athleticism there. Those are known commodities. We know they're good enough to go out and get yards. And so, yeah, I mean, if that running back room walks out of Saturday with less than 100 yards rushing, I'm going to be pretty concerned, because I feel like based on who they have up front and who they've got in the backfield, they should be able to have their way with that Western Michigan front.
That's a good one. That is a good one. It's so funny, man. We've talked about this so many times with this Michigan team, how there's so many question marks on both sides of the ball. And I keep thinking, like, I probably should look at the defense, but then again, like, there's so much unknown there that I don't know if anything would surprise me. Honestly, right? Like, I want to say, like, man, the new concepts, the zone stuff, having Klink back there, they're going to shut down that Western Michigan passing offense. They're going to have to. They have to, right? There's no more of this, like we heard from Vincent Gray, chasing guys around all over the field and getting stuck in a man-to-man situation and, unknown guys putting up big-time receiving numbers against Michigan. There's no more of that, right? It's gotta be gone. But then again, if that happened, I don't know how you could really be surprised by that, seeing as how we don't know anything about what the defense is going to look like, or who's even starting at cornerback, or what kind of pressure are they going to be able to get with this 3-man front and these hybrid linebackers? Like, I don't know. I asked you that question because I was kind of going through, expectations and what I think we might see tomorrow. I don't know if there's anything. Running backs is a good answer, but I don't know if there's anything that will surprise me tomorrow. Like, I can almost say that with a straight face. Nothing about tomorrow will surprise me, because I just don't know a lot about what we're going to see.
It's pretty damn close to that being the reality. The only reason I go to the running backs is, like I said, it feels like that's the only known commodity on this team, and the one thing that you can sort of look at and say, okay, I like what we've got there. I know that's going to be productive. And so if that position group isn't productive on Saturday, I'm going to walk away like confused, concerned. How are we not running all over the field on Western Michigan?
Yeah, I mean, Hassan Haskins, Blake Corum, Donovan Edwards, you would think that group would be able to kind of do what they want to do.
Elite.
Yeah, kind of do what they want to do against Western Michigan's front. That's going to be, you expect them to be a little undersized. I know when we talked to Patrick earlier in the week, he wasn't real impressed with their linebacker play, and then their DBs maybe even worse than that. So this is where we come back to the over-under on the scoring. I just think Michigan, against an opponent like that even at full strength, and if they had some really good standout players for MAC level play, they're just going to be outmatched. And they don't even have that. They have like guys who are going to struggle this year throughout the whole season, from what we gleaned on, what was that, Wednesday we had Patrick on with us.
Wednesday. Yeah.
So yeah, I think the offense needs to really perform again. Think Western's going to try to throw it around, but you would love to think and to assume that Mike McDonald's defense that we've heard so much about, you got guys, unprompted tweeting about it, guys bringing it up in press conferences about how they're playing freer and they're playing more to their strengths and they're making more plays on the ball and they're doing this, they're doing that. I don't know, man. I'm still just wondering what that really needs to look like against a team like Western Michigan. I guess if we dive into maybe like a play-by-play kind of level, what would worry you? What would worry you coming out of the Western Michigan game in terms of what Mike McDonald's defense is all about?
The same mistakes over and over, or the same giving up the same types of big plays over and over, because to me that speaks
That's what we saw before.
Right. To me, that speaks to a lack of adjustments, and you're not sort of, working within the game. And so I do expect Michigan to get burned a couple times. It's week one. It's, you got a team that loves to throw the ball around. I expect them to get gashed a couple of times. But when it comes to this defense, I just don't want to see the same mistakes over and over. If it looks like they're settling in, they've got an identity, they know what they want to do out there. I feel good about that. But if it looks kind of like it did last year, where the corners are on an island, we're getting burnt, and you're wondering when the change is going to come, I'm going to be pretty damn concerned.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, that was kind of the whole thing. I mean, Don Brown did some really good things for a couple years, but then the good teams kind of figured him out, and then it started even like the mediocre teams figured him out and started putting up big numbers, and never really saw him change out of it. And when he did try to change out of it, it looked even worse, because you could tell that they never practiced any kind of zone concepts in practice. We heard it, from Eric All.
Yeah.
It's amazing going against this defense now, because we get to see the zones, and we get to, find out where to sit down and how to get open and how to work our way into, open spaces against all kinds of defenses, rather than just running against man all day long. So we know that's what was going on. I mean, it played itself out that way on Saturdays, and now we've heard players kind of openly talk about it, and obviously Don Brown was fired. I mean, all those things kind of lend itself to what we thought was going on, and what it kind of looked like on the field absolutely was going on. And that's why Don Brown's gone, and that's why Mike McDonald is in there, and that's why we don't know what it's going to look like. I mean, he was he was the linebackers coach at Baltimore, the Ravens. Great defense, but he's not in charge of coming up with the entire schemes or making the calls down on the field. I mean, there's been some talk that he was involved in designing, certain packages and what the defense kind of alignments and things like that. But at the end of the day, he's a young guy. He got his start there. He was starting out. He absorbed a ton of knowledge, I'm sure, but they've had a couple really, really experienced defensive coordinators making those calls there over the last couple of years. But I like the kind of guys that he learned from. Baltimore was always one of the most blitz happy teams in the NFL. I like that. I mean, we saw that with Don Brown too, but if you can mix that in with, some of those zone schemes and some of those multiple looks at those different things that we just didn't see with Don Brown, I think it speaks well, for what Michigan is going to try to do. I'm so curious. I'm so curious about the defense.
It's the defense, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it's the defense and Cade McNamara. Those are the top two things that I'm just going to be looking for: the defense in its entirety, and then I just want to see how McNamara operates out on the football field. Again, I know it's only Western Michigan, but when a quarterback is really good and when he is that guy, you can just see in the way he operates. It doesn't matter if it's against teams like Alabama or Clemson or Western Michigan and Bowling Green. They have that certain something where that's the guy. And that's what I'm going to be looking for. And it sounds like, based on everything we've heard from the offseason, that Cade has stepped into that role and become that. So we're going to find out pretty quick.
This was an over-under I almost threw out there, but I kind of almost feel like, God, was Jim Harbaugh drunk when he said some of these things? And while we're waiting for Jalen Mayfield to step into the pod with us here, Jim Harbaugh more than one time threw out the name Taysom Hill when talking about Dan Villari. Do we see him tomorrow? Do you think we see Dan the Man running around out there doing some things?
We 100% see Dan Villari tomorrow, probably on like a I almost kind of think they're going to use him the same way they would Donovan Edwards in like a wildcat. I think they're going to line him up. I think they're going to line him up in the shotgun, snap the ball to him. He's going to he's going to get out of the pocket. He's going to see if there's something open down the field, but I think his MO is going to be, I'm going to carry the ball and I'm going to try to get some hard yards. But we will definitely see it tomorrow.
God, I hate the wildcat. I hate it so much. It's just like you could it takes some really hard convincing. I was going to say, you could maybe convince me with a guy like Villari because he actually is a quarterback and he could throw it if you wanted him to. But like Minnesota kept running the Wildcat last night, and it was just like, dude, everybody knows what you're doing. Like,
right. You make yourself one dimensional, and against a defense, even though Ohio State didn't look all that great last night, when you line up in the Wildcat formation, everybody knows what it's going to be. And when you're overmatched by essentially every single position on the football field, probably not the best idea.
Yeah, well, we got Jalen Mayfield in here now. I'm about to welcome him in. Let's ask the offensive lineman. Jalen, I'm going to put you right on the spot. He comes in. First of all, man, thanks for joining us. So cool to see
man.
you again, dude. The Atlanta Falcon, Jalen Mayfield, man. Such a cool story. We'll get into that in a little bit, but I'm going to ask you right up. Does the Wildcats suck? Like, you're an O-lineman. You're blocking. Everybody knows if the Wildcat's in there, they're running the ball. What do you think of the Wildcat these days in 2021?
What I'm praying for whenever that happens is just don't put 10 people in the box, because that's going to be a rough time. But for the most part, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to get in the end zone. So
Yeah.
I hear you. Well, Jalen, thanks so much for coming and talking with us, man. I was talking to Chris before he went live. I think I started covering you when you were in 11th grade. I went out to your high school multiple times. I even reached out to you one random time, like a year and a half ago. I was like, hey, I'm doing some graphic work, just kind of messing around. Who's your favorite team? You said the Falcons. And dude, then you get drafted by him. Like, what was that moment like? I mean, a lot of Michigan fans have seen the video of that moment. It was awesome. You're there with your family, I think some friends, your coach, whatever. What was it like, dude? That had to be insane.
Yeah, when I got the call, it was a pretty wild moment. I knew that the draft is a little delayed when you're on the phone. So usually whoever's going to pick you, it's like 2 or 3 picks ahead in person. So when I got the call, I initially thought it was going to be Detroit, because I saw Detroit pick 2 or 3 picks ahead. And the next pick, I think, was Atlanta. And so when I heard the phone ring, I was like, oh, I'm going to Detroit, get to stay in state. But I wasn't really happy about that. I wanted to travel somewhere.
Yeah.
Understandable.
Once I picked up the phone and saw the area code and Coach Smith was on the other line, I was really ecstatic. And, it was truly a dream come true for me.
Down in the 404, man. Saw that 404 pop up on there, probably, right? That's awesome.
I was a little happy it didn't say 313 at first.
There you go. No doubt about it. Well,
say no more. Yeah.
Well, how is it going? I mean, you're in the mix, man. I mean, the season's just a little over a week away now, and I think there's been some guys that got dinged up, and yeah, I'm sure you came in thinking like, I want to play, like I'm going to do everything I can to play, but that's a tough thing for a rookie. And now though you're in the mix. So what's kind of going through your head as you're about a week out and it looks like you might be that guy right there?
Yeah, all training camp, I was kind of bouncing around, playing tackle, playing guard, switching sides. I think it just really helped me overall get a better understanding of what, our scheme is and, how to truly, take in life at the NFL level. You got to be somebody who's versatile and somebody who's able to adjust on the fly. I felt like, everything I was kind of thrown in training camp really just helped me get to this point. So, next Sunday, get to go out and play and, get to show what I've been doing all training camp and all preseason.
I'm not trying to make you give anything away. I don't know if it's been announced, but I mean, are you the guy? Do you feel like you're the guy? You sound like you're pretty confident you're going to play, right?
Yeah, I will. I'm almost 100% sure I will be the guy Sunday.
Man, congrats, dude. That's so cool to see. I mean, I hope you feel ready. Do you feel ready? I mean, like I said, it's quick, man. You're coming in 3rd round pick and now you're starting.
Yeah, I felt like, kind of similar to my experience at Michigan. I was competing with Andrew Stuber. He went down and, I got my chance to play. For this to happen again for me, I feel like I've been in this position before. It's a higher level, but I'm pretty confident in myself. I have the ability, all the talent, just got to really hone in on my technique and, really focus on my assignment and not worry too much about what other people are doing.
So you played pretty high level high school football, then obviously Michigan Big Ten was big time. How big is the jump? For the people who know, like it's the elite of the elite that go on to the league. Like, was it crazy at first, or do you feel like you adjusted pretty quickly?
It definitely was a little crazy at first, especially going up against guys like Dante Fowler and, Grady Jarrett. Those are 2 high-end guys that we got. And just seeing them go in and day out, definitely helped me adjust a lot quicker than I feel like most places would. The talent we have on that team really forces you to compete and, go hard every play. So, I'm really fortunate to be in that situation to where I was kind of thrown in the fire right away and able to compete. And I feel like I've gotten a lot better for it.
Those grown men, right?
Yeah.
those are grown men.
Grown men,
yeah. That's a different level. Absolutely. I just wonder too, like, I mean, you're a pro. Like, is it weird? I mean, you're a young guy. You're just out of college. Yeah, it's got to be just a surreal.
Yeah, it's I was actually having this conversation the other day. Like, me and a couple rookies were sitting in the locker room, and we were just like, has it really hit you yet that you're we got out to that first preseason game, and I don't think it really hit me till we played at Miami because, the last season we didn't have fans or anything. So we got on to, I think it was the 1 or 2, and all the fans just started standing up, cheering. I was like, man, this is really the NFL here. And it really hit me kind of right there. But, it's been a good transition, I feel like, for me. And, I think I've taken it in pretty well. And, just main thing I have, advice for the young guys that do, go in is, listen to the people around you. There's a lot of experience, especially in, I know you might get caught up with your talent and, how confident you are, but you definitely got to humble yourself and, take advice from, veterans who've done it before and, do it at a high level to really have success. So
I got one more, and then Chris, if you want to throw a couple at him before we kind of finish up with the picks here. I was telling Chris this before we went live here, Jalen, that when I came out to a workout, I think I saw maybe before you were committed to Michigan, and then I was there for your commitment and got to know your head coach, Todd Colster, pretty well there. And he had worked with some NFL guys in the past. I think he was at a small college maybe somewhere, and he was at some other high schools. He had multiple jobs, whatever the case was. And he said he had been around NFL guys, and he thought that you could be the best one of them all. And this is when you were, 250 pounds, maybe something like that. You looked like a tight end just off the basketball court. And he said that. And, okay, he's been around it. I guess we'll see what Jalen turns into. When did you know? When did you think damn, I'm really going to probably make it to the NFL. This is really going to happen for me.
I've always had that confidence, but I think it really hit me, when I opted back in last season. I played that first game against Minnesota, and I really felt confident in the way I played. And, it really hit me everything I'm doing now is to get a job later down the line in the NFL. And so I really took, last season, I know I only played a couple of games, but I really, tried to treat that as if I was already in the NFL and tried to prepare myself as, a pro would. So I really took it seriously more last year. I was trying to get, all situated the years before and try to feel it out and figure everything out. But I think really last year I was like, I want to be the most dominant player I can be. So I, had to turn that switch and stop thinking so much and just going out and playing.
Well, shout out to Coach Colster, who saw it when you were 16, 17 years old, probably back in the day. So that's pretty cool, man.
All right. So Jalen, I know you're looking ahead to the season with the Falcons, but we've had on about 10 of the current Michigan players right now, and we've asked every single one of them, to kind of describe their experience for the 2020 season. And I think yours was pretty unique. You declared for the NFL draft, and then you ended up coming back. Can you just kind of tell us a little bit about what was that 2020 season like for you among, in the midst of all the confusion? What was going through your head? What was that like?
Yeah, that's probably the most crazy time I've had, and just so much uncertainty was, surrounded by last year and, never really knowing if you're going to play 1 week, if you're not going to play. And then, getting hit with an injury definitely, threw everything for a loop for me. And I know it was hard on a lot of guys, especially, the guys that were seniors and the guys that were thinking about leaving, not getting the opportunity to play every game and especially play the Ohio game. I know that really, hurt us. I know there was a lot of rumors about us trying to duck that game. We weren't trying to duck that game. Trust me. I was hurt, and I tried to practice those 2 days trying to play in that game. But, it was definitely different. And, I don't think anybody will ever probably experience that again. Just so many challenges outside of just being in football. You always got to think about your team, especially during COVID. You can't go out. You can't, hang with other people. You always got to be kind of locked down and always have your, goal on one thing. So I think that was really a challenge for our team. I know the season didn't go as we were, but I felt like it really built a stronger connection just being around everybody more often and, really honusing in on football. It really felt like a professional job at that point. And, it was unfortunate how it ended last season, but, I wouldn't trade it back for anything. So.
Yeah, and I'm curious with the guys who are still there. It's interesting. Josh Gaddis, it might have been a few weeks ago at this point, had said Zach Zinner might be the best offensive player on the Michigan football team, and I think that took a lot of people by surprise when they heard that. But you played up close and personal with these guys. Can you tell us a little bit about the guys that are still there and who you would expect to really step up on the offensive line?
Yeah, I got a funny story for about Zach.
That's what we love. That's what we want.
That's the stuff we want right there.
So Zach, I didn't know many of the freshmen that had came in that year, and Zach was an early enrollee. And one of our first workouts, we were doing a bunch of like combine testing and whatever. And usually I was pretty high up testing wise. And Zach gets put in my group, and Coach Herb looks at me. He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna put him with you. He's gonna be a good one." I'm like, "All right, said this about me," and I didn't, I didn't come in right away and do everything that everybody else did. So he came with me, and then, the first day I see him run, I'm like, all right, he can't keep this up like any longer. First day he's got fresh legs. I've been doing this for a while. Second day he did it again, and then, it just kept being a theme. And he's somebody who's really, he learns very quickly. He's somebody who, I see a lot of myself in. He loves the game. He's very physical. He's a very smart person too, and he really, is a great person to just be around. I mean, the time I was with him, he was always, looking for advice and trying to find ways to get better. So when that was said by Coach Gaddis, I didn't find it surprising at all. I think he has the opportunity to be, a first round caliber guy if he keeps going. The talent he has with the size he has is, pretty remarkable. And, I'm excited to see what he got, and, the other guys that are up front too. I feel like, last year was just kind of a weird year. Consistency was kind of bad, but I feel like this year they definitely, with more veteran leadership and stuff, I feel like they're going to have a great season.
I'm interested.
High praise.
Yeah, I mean, Zinner was a pretty big time recruit, but he's up in New England up there. Those guys get looked over a lot. They do, man. They get looked over, and he started as a true freshman. That's hard to do in itself. And then, like you just said, I mean, that's a pretty good endorsement, because you came in as a high, kind of viewed as a slightly undersized but really athletic, could grow into the position, and you played pretty early too. I mean, it kind of happened that, and Ryan Hayes, the kind of seeing a trend here with some of these guys who came in. I will agree with you though. Zinner had a little bit more size, I think, than like you and Hayes did when you first came in, and for him to.
I came in, I think I was 270 maybe.
Yeah, I know. I remember. Like I said, when I saw you at that very first workout, I'm like, this is a tackle. He looks like a tight end. You're running around. You're doing routes and stuff with your buddies.
Should have lined up a couple times in the slot and gave, Ronnie some.
I hear you.
No, they would never give me that opportunity. So.
I hear you. No, that's awesome, man. Well, Chris, I guess
we got a couple fun ones here before.
Oh yeah, that's right. These are big ones.
Hold on, a couple fun ones here. So, Jalen, before we get you out of here and before we go to the picks, I gotta know, you were with him for a number of years. You've got to have a crazy Jim Harbaugh story. What's the craziest thing you've seen him do, heard him say throughout your college career?
Oh, that's a hard one.
Is there that many to go through?
There's a lot. What's the next question? I'll get back to that.
Okay.
All right. Let that one marinate. And this one, what I try to do is I try not to ask any controversial questions. I don't want to cause any controversy, but I got to know, man, this is a burning question that I have.
We've been talking about this one for like 3 days.
You're not at Michigan anymore, so they can't hurt you. You're safe now. But I got to know, I know how the fans feel about it. Jalen Mayfield, how do the players feel about hearing Mr. Brightside during the games?
Oh, that's awful. We got to fix that.
Thank you. Thank you.
That's just you want an intimidating thing starting the fourth quarter, and that just makes everybody want to smut. No, that's awful. I don't know whose idea that was.
We're sitting here going crazy.
Pom-poms too. I want to see something. I want to see.
I think they're coming back. I think they're coming back.
Are coming back. Yeah,
I'll be at the game. And like I want to see like an actual like loud crowd. I'm tired of seeing third downs. It's a close game and it's quiet and you can hear everything in the stadium. I want to that.
It's crazy because Brandon and I talk about this quite a bit. Like you have Mr. Brightside, you have what are some of the other
Sweet Caroline and
Sweet Caroline?
Who like sings that song? I don't even know.
Nobody.
No, it's the Killers who sings it, and they're awful, and the guy's voice blows, and I'm over it, man.
I appreciate your honesty, Jalen Mayfield. I appreciate your. You know what? Let's go to the picks. Let's go to the Big Ten picks. Let's go to the
picks. All right, we're not going to do all of them. Picks? I don't. We could throw up some music.
Throw it on.
That we had for what would it be for? It was the countdown, I guess. I think
let's go with it.
Yeah, we'll go with the countdown picks.
All right,
Jalen. Have Jalen pick straight up because some of these are expected to be pretty lopsided.
Yeah, let's have him pick straight up.
All right,
straight up the list. You've got it.
Yeah, I got it written down right here. All right, Jalen. Tonight, actually, so in a little less than an hour, Michigan State will travel to Northwestern. Northwestern is a 3.5-point favorite, so it's supposed to be a pretty close one. What do you got in that one?
Give me Northwestern by 10.
Northwestern to cover. All right, Northwestern to cover. That's what Jalen sees there. This one, good God, if they don't win, Scott Frost's his head might just explode. I don't know. But Fordham is going to Nebraska. I think it's an obvious no-brainer pick that Nebraska will win, but say that again.
At Nebraska?
It's at Nebraska. Dude, listen to this number. Nebraska is favored by 43.5.
I don't care. Nebraska's horrible. I don't think for 43 points. So
yeah, I'm with you. All right, so
I'll take.
I think Nebraska wins.
Yeah,
exactly. That's all day. This is a big one, probably the biggest game in the Big Ten this weekend. Penn State will travel to Wisconsin. Big game in Madison. Two teams, been pretty good over the last couple of years. Penn State was a little down last year, but Wisconsin is favored by 5.5 in that one.
I don't see that game even being close. I got Wisconsin by a lot.
Okay.
Really? Yeah.
Okay.
Is it? I mean, you've played at Wisconsin. You played it up in Madison. What is that environment? Everything is cracked up to be, and everything we hear.
I don't think it's like the environment. It's just the consistency that they have, like year in year out. They're the same team. You know what they're gonna do. You have to stop it, of course, but like it's hard to stop. They got backs constantly, just NFL type players. Their O-line's massive usually, and that defense is always going to be in the higher ranks. So Penn State, I know they lost a lot, and not having Micah Parsons, who was a big factor last year, not having him too, I think that's still going to hurt them. And so I got Wisconsin by a lot.
Listen to this insight, man. I don't know if the NFL thing doesn't work out, man, we'll get you a microphone. We'll bring you back
on.
All right, next one. It's this, I don't know, not a great game, but Temple at Rutgers. Rutgers favored by 14.5. They're better. They're improved under Greg Schiano, but that number feels, I don't know. What do you think there, Jalen?
So our center in Atlanta is from Temple, so I'd probably get some flack for not saying that. I'm gonna go with Rutgers just because they gave us a hard time last year, and
absolutely,
Schiano's a pretty good coach too. So I'm gonna take them, but I don't think they'll cover. So.
Okay, I'm kind of with you on that one. I see like maybe a 10-point win, but yeah, and Temple, I don't know what's going on with Temple. Their quarterback actually transferred to Michigan State, so they've got some they've got some moving parts there too. I don't know a lot about Temple, but Rutgers is certainly improving
Their
under
quarterback's going to Michigan State. I mean, that's kind of a downgrade too. So.
There you go. The other big game in the Big Ten this weekend, Indiana is traveling to Iowa, and Iowa's actually favored by 3.5 in that.
Is it a night game?
It's
3:30 game. Yeah, 3:30.
So it's weird. It will be dark towards the end.
No, give me Indiana on that.
Really? Okay. Indiana in the upset, slight upset. I mean, 3.5's almost a gimme, almost a toss-up game. Jalen's going
Iowa.
Okay, there you go. Last but not least, Western Michigan traveling to the Big House tomorrow. Michigan is favored by 17. Historically, Michigan not a great against the spread team, but Western Michigan's defense is supposed to be pretty suspect. What do we see out of Cade McNamara? What do we see out of that offense? Give us a score prediction, a little bit more specific even on this one.
All right, so our defense the last couple of years, we've been playing a lot of man. I've heard that switched, and I know a lot of players are excited about that. I'm expecting a lot of big things, especially out of the kids in my class. I hold them to a high standard just like they held me to. So, if they don't get it done, I'm gonna let them know. But I'm definitely excited though to see the offense. There's a lot of questions, that we left unanswered last year, and I'm super excited to see them, and I'm really excited to see Ronnie play. Ronnie's been one of my boys for a while, and just seeing him, how he went, underrated in high school and came out, and he's just been the same kid, working hard, and I think he has the potential to be a top receiver in the country, and I'm excited. I hope they cover. I got a little in team bet going on, so I need right now. So I'm taking Michigan. I hope they put up 50 this game. I'm going 56-7.
Wow, that's a big
Wow.
number.
Yeah.
That's a big
They got to
number.
put up 50, right? They got to put up 50.
I said 45, so I'm
Week
not
one,
that far
Western,
off.
you got to put up
when we
50.
played them 3 years ago, it was, I think, 49-3 or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need them to put 50.
There you go. Is there anybody on the Falcons from Western? You got any? Is there any like
O-lineman from Western? So if somehow Michigan loses the game, I have to come out decked. Yeah, this will be rough, but I'm pretty sure we can get this one done. So
Absolutely. I actually, while you were talking right there, I just had one more thing pop into my head. You mentioned Ronnie being really close with him, named a captain. I mean, dude, what a story, for a guy who was almost didn't play college football, was going to go play basketball at a small school in Missouri. And now he's a captain at Michigan. I mean, you mentioned him being a good friend of yours. How much are you talking to Ronnie and other guys on the team? And then, that captain status for him, what do you think that means?
Yeah, I mean, I'm incredibly proud of him, all the stuff he's, accomplished. I know, one of the hardest moments for him was that Penn State game when he had that game-winning drop, and to see him bounce back the way he did and play just as hard and, just as efficient as he ever did, was something that really, made me happy for him. I know he was big time down on himself then, and, he never stopped working though. I know that fuels him every day, and I know this last year he didn't get the opportunity to, play against Ohio State again and do all that. So I'm expecting a lot of big things out of him. I talk to all my class, almost every day, and I'm really excited to see them and see all they can do. And I'm really happy for Aiden and all those guys that get an opportunity. I'm super excited to see Hassan. Hassan, I think, has the potential to be another first-round guy. That guy, super explosive. He can do a lot, and he's a very physical downhill runner. So I can't wait to see him tomorrow, and I'm proud of all those guys.
That's awesome. Well said. And you said you're in town. You're going to be there tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll be down there. I don't know if I should drive tonight and stay down there. Or it's going to be a 2-hour drive, so we'll see. But I will be there tomorrow.
Going to be a little bit of hike. Well, Jalen, thanks so much for the time, man.
Man.
Awesome insight. Great stuff. I like your picks. I think we were about in lockstep in just about all of them.
Solid.
Too, so we'll keep track of that a little bit. And then
that Nebraska game, though, I might pick against them. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear you. No, I hear you. We've dogged on Nebraska and Scott Frost plenty on here. So anyway, I mean, dude, I know you're super busy. The season's about to start for you. Best of luck. Stay healthy. Play every game. We'll be watching for you, man. And I don't know if you've got time, dude. I would love to have you back on because this was great. But I know you've got a lot to focus on this year down in Atlanta. But best of luck to you, man, and thanks for the time.
Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, take care, Jalen. All right, great stuff, man, from Jalen Mayfield. That was
good stuff. Really good stuff.
Yeah, man. That was a lot of fun. And I like his picks. He knows his stuff. You can tell he's talking. It's really cool too. I didn't really think about it, but I mean, it's obvious. Like he's bringing in, like literally exactly what kind of stuff you want to hear when you're making bets, like him playing in the game, and they had this, and I didn't like this about being there, and that's pretty awesome, man.
He's close enough to it where he can say whatever the hell he wants, but there's like the Mr. Bright dude. I gotta be honest. Out of the entire interview, the fact that we got that out of him for Mr. Brightside, that's a win. That's a win. That's a dub.
Brightside.
So I know that the fans love it. I know that the fans want to hear it. The student section wants it. The players don't like it. It doesn't motivate the players. It doesn't get them excited to knock somebody's head off. But we know that. So, hopefully I don't know, man. Hopefully the DJ at the big house is listening, man, because you gotta knock that shit off.
Yeah, I hear you. I'm with you. All right, let's close it out, Chris. Let's talk the prediction. Michigan will take on Western tomorrow. They are favored by 17. I have them covering quite easily. What's your prediction for that final score? And then just give a little thought about it as we prepare to get up early and head to the stadium tomorrow morning.
Well, I don't have the actual score in front of me, but I think I had it 40. Do you have it in front of me? Or do
I
you have it
do.
in front
Yeah,
of
I'll pull it up. Yep, I do. Chris Breiler said 42-13.
42-13, right? So, I expect Michigan obviously to cover. But it's weird because what you were saying before, like I picked Western to have 13, but I've got them over on 16.5. So I got to go back and look at that. I just think they're going to score more points than that. I think there's going to be some garbage points there. I do think Michigan covers. If Michigan doesn't get north of 40 points, I don't know how I'm going to walk away feeling about the offense, but I want to see them put points on the board.
I'm with you. I have 45-17, so that's why I said I had to go back and amend my original over under because I was thinking it was 10, but
yeah,
17. That's a couple touchdowns, field goal. I'd be okay with that. I mean, this is the team that in the MAC they're going to score 40 points a game probably, but Michigan should hold them to half that, I think, at least. So I got Michigan winning big, covering pretty easily. Yeah, I don't know. I just think that they need to make a statement. It's a game that they should absolutely win and win by a lot. All the talking, all the gum bumping that's been going on. The defense is this, the offense is this. Cade's elevating people's play, best running backs in the country. I don't expect players to say anything other than those types of things, but it's been on steroids this year. I think it's been more. I
don't think the Temple football program is going out and saying things like
that.
You know what I mean? And they clearly believe that they've got something special. They seem to be relishing the underdog role. And again, we go back to culture. And you guys like you and I think culture and energy and those things are a big deal. And if it has been such a drastic improvement in that arena, I think we're going to see it pay huge dividends on the football field. But, man, I'm just excited that all the questions, all the bullshit, tomorrow's gone. Like, we get to see football. We get to see the product, and we get to talk about, like, reality and not speculation. So, good luck sleeping tonight.
Yeah, can't wait. We will be out there bright and early tomorrow morning. The stadium doors open up at 9 o'clock for the media. That's pretty much when we'll be there. That's what we're shooting for. And then we will be going live immediately as soon as the game is over to talk for 20 or 30 minutes about everything that we saw, talk about a player of the game, talk about things we liked, things we didn't like. And, that's all going to be going down from somewhere in the big house. We haven't quite figured that part out yet. That's why we're going to get there nice and early tomorrow and really check things out and see where we want to be at. But we will be in the house. I know Chris is excited. His first time being there as a member of the media. I'm really excited for him. And, just really looking forward to it. Going to get a lot of questions answered. And then we'll be back to talk about it tomorrow after the game. And then we'll be back again on Monday night. Thanks, everybody, for listening.